If you're joining us for the first time, this is where we have fun with words and numbers, numerology to be precise. And now I would just like to get into this other presentation, the third presentation that reflects the mirror. The mirror, what do we see when we look in a mirror? Through what eyes are we looking in a mirror? So the word mirror comes to number 10, 46, which is 4 and 6, which is the direct equation as the word sacrifice. Intuitively, of course, I felt that the word sacrifice would be granting us a lot of answers that we have been seeking or wondering about, because sacrifice seems to be embedded in our psyche. But of course, with that word sacrifice, revelation has really revealed to me that revelation as a tool in the word is an ally rather that will help us to unlock the mysteries of the numbers. So there we are now, and of course my body is a little bit full, but I just want to go over what we have done in the last presentation, which is number 2, where mirror comes into it. Okay, so I want to just summarize this, and I hope that when I say summarize, the last presentation gave. So we have exneal, which is a word, whether I'm pronouncing it correctly or not, but this is the word that is really denoting, it's expressing there is a relationship. It's about relationship with a foreigner or a foreign person or a foreign subject. Whatever it is, you're the guest of that. You are putting on a spread for your guests. The quality of that relationship is exneal. Now, that is what I feel is a key aspect of what it entails for us to know ourselves as individuals. So we are asked to know ourselves. If we do not know ourselves, we do not know what we are looking at in a mirror. We do not have a frame of reference of what to look at in a mirror. Now, we also learn that if we get to know God, then we know what we are looking for. And of course, I believe that knowing God is knowing not just ourselves, but all of life, all of nature, all of the other, and to regard them equally as nice, beautiful as yourself. Of course, this is a real tough job for most of us, but to really have reverence for all of life. That is the word. So, reverence. Because hence, this is what we know through the sacrificial act, or in Christ's teachings, where he said, love thy enemy. So, love thy neighbor as thyself. So, that in itself was also a message driving home to us that in loving the other, we are also loving ourselves. Okay, so there we are. Now, even in that statement, we have this idea that anything we don't like is satanic, it's bad, and we want nothing to do with it. And in these presentations, I'm hoping that I can unfold the another meaning or another way of looking at it that I feel makes sense, that will also validate that statement of why it is important to love our enemy. So we see here, for instance, in this part here, we go into an agreement like Christ did with his disciples. We partake of blood. I keep saying blood, perhaps yes, but of the wine and the bread. There is an agreement that takes place here. In this agreement, I am very glad I was able to honor that agreement through my own act, and this is very evident because I had no inclination to change this. So that was, in actual fact, a demonstration of my agreement that I had done here. Wow. Thank you. Okay. So I had done all my jazz hair, and of course, in this earth frame, I have done all my jazz, But in my jazz, there have been, if you like, those who have been protecting me, those who have been guarding me, those who have fed me and clothed me, and just putting it that way. And there has been all the divine interventions that happened here. And even perhaps when I was hurt and someone had comfort me, and I thought, oh, how sweet, and I honored them. And there was a sacred agreement. And it's the sort of thing we'll say, oh, I'll never forget you. You were so good to me, I'll never forget you. Oh, and we have, so this is where we do that sacred agreement. We were hungry and someone fed us. We were needing something, we needed money, someone gave it to us. There was a sacred agreement, even if when we didn't utter the word thank you, but in our hearts we had an appreciation or a memory was impregnated with gratitude. That was that agreement here. That was that bread and that wine. That was that basket of bread, the bucket of wine that we immersed ourselves in. So, this was what was happening here. But of course, life goes on. We go abroad or we have children, and we go through all those other experiences, and we don't entirely forget, but we do not hold that high regard to that agreement like we felt we did initially. So we get our knocks, and some experiences we are lucky, and some we feel we are unlucky in that three column, which we call luck, which also gives us that nine. But that nine, because we get some knocks, we get an introduction of what it means to go through a sacrificial experience. And that might have derived from when we leave home and we go abroad. We are missing our parents, but we survive anyway. We feel lucky, but we have also experienced what it's like to lose something. So this is that stage we go through here. And of course, the lessons of learning that we have gained some experience, we have lost some, we have gained some insight, and we have lost our way in that development. We then decide that we in that process we are also recognizing that we are lucky or unlucky, and we need to be able to make judgment of that stage. And in that stage we are actually doing our minus and our pluses, which is all embedded in this sign here, which is all embedded in number 4. So this is the development that we are going through here. And in that development, that's what takes us into the new cycle, where we know from that point on, that relationship here, we are working with external. We have gone abroad. We are learning this to form new relationships. We are forming developments to get us into that fox position. We have new perspective. This is the number 5 where we are in Christ. And so in that new development here, we have got to make decisions whether we stay on this side or that side. But do we go back to that side? No. Because once we are here, we recognize, even from the 5, we recognize that we need to go forward. It's as if there are new experiences, because the newness is also exciting. This was the thing with the prodigal son. Of course, the newness is exciting. So we go through that journey in that gypsy land, walking around, um, taking all rides and going countries and doing all sorts, having fun. And of course, in the process, it's not always fun, but we know how to rest. At one time, we have to rest because we can't go on forever. So this is where God had created man in 6 days and then he rests. So this is the same process that happens with us as man, human beings. So this is what I call gypsy. So we'll see from 5 and 7, we are requiring from that sacrificial solution to meditate, have insight, particularly in these two columns here. When we are traveling, we need to have this insight of where we are walking, the safety we are needing, the provisions we are requiring, the warmth, and all of those things. So in this position here, this is where, as I say, it is as if it is mapped out for us already. So when we are here, we know we don't really need Satan anymore. So this is where Christ said, when, of course, in his new state, he had fasted for 40 days, the number 4, 40 days and 40 nights, and from 5, he's seeing that he's on on a pinnacle here, and he can see from both sides now. And Satan is still saying to him, well, do you want, if you could do this and that because you feel you want to go on your own, well, then why don't you just turn those stones into. They're having that same kind of game that God had with Satan about Job. So this is the same game that is happening in every biblical story, really, in essence. So when we see this external construct is happening here. And so to validate the agreement that had happened here, of course, it comes to the point that Satan knows that there was an agreement there because he was part of that agreement, or if he wasn't part of that agreement there, then this would be saying, well, yes, he is a god in that section altogether. We could conclude that the sixth hair, which is he has that connection with hair, which is transpiring hair, because it comes under the letter N. So that means, of course, he is man also. So this is the answer that is saying that he is no different. He is in our psyche. He is in our psyche, part of our psyche. But this is where we are exercising our strength. This is where we are exercising and learning our material world, our environment, our makeup, our, we, and that those things are essential for us to know because that helps us again. That is another part of that external aspect. We are building relationships, we are getting familiar with one another, and of course through that, when we are here, we are in that memory of that union that we had with each other. We are now able to see the mirror. We are now able to recognize who's in the mirror, like Michael Jackson would say. Oh, I was tempted to try and sing it, but no. But I'm looking at the man in the mirror. So this is the agreement that happens. Of course, when you are having an agreement with someone, you are actually looking in their eyes, you are shaking their hand, you are smiling, and you are doing all of those things. You have your glass of wine together, you eat together, and all of those things. So that's the union that has been taking place. So you are able to recognize them if you don't see them after 20 years or whatever it is, and think, oh, well, do you know what? I don't know if I really want to keep that relationship going anymore. So get thee behind me, Satan. Satan. And stay, I think it would be the tan. The tan gets me thinking. Okay. So, but that this is evident that the T being in the middle of the 5 letters, which entails Satan from number 1 to 5, that T here is confirming that Satan was part of that agreement. Like I would say, those of us who want to really believe that God really is very, very angry with Satan. Perhaps, yes, but perhaps Satan is just very over optimistic. But what's important for us to remember, the same principle of not laying a hand on us is the same principle for Job, is the same principle that exists for us. That when he gets to this point and we get to that new stage, that's what we have to say. Goodbye. Thank you. But remember, Christ said, because of course, in Christ's position here, being at that position, he's able to see with the third eye here, able to see, and hence he says, love thy enemy. So when he says to get thee behind me, he's not really cussing. Well, I don't know about cussing or whatever, but he's just acknowledging his own position. And perhaps that happens too. Sometimes we are in a new place and we haven't really recognized. We think, oh, how did I get here? We do it all the time, particularly females in relationship, and think, bloody hell, how did I get here again? So we've been going through that cycle simply because we are seeing the same face. Maybe it's a face we didn't like, but they're traveling with us. Okay, so anyway, I'm hoping that you have found this fun. I'm hoping that you have found it beneficial. Okay, if you like this presentation, click the like button and share, because this is how we do it. We share to actualizing self-full love. In the meantime, spill over with love. Stay blessed, stay bright, and stay ignited. Namaste. Wonderful.